1 o'clock and he was feeling extremely hungry, so he made his way to a vegetarian restaurant. From there he happens to meet a young English girl named Maggie.
Can I have your order, sir?
I would like to have this.
Thank you, sir.
His attention was drawn to a table not far away from him. A young English girl was sitting there. She has been watching him since he sat there. She looks 13 or 14. Please, miss. Can you tell me if the gentleman is an Indian?
I think so.
Does he come here all the time?
Perhaps not. I did not recall having seen him before.
Thank you.
Do you know the girl who was sitting there?
No, sir. I do not know her, to speak of. I have noticed she has lunch here on Saturday.
Doesn't she come on other days?
I never see her on other days.
Have you any idea who she is?
Perhaps. She works in a nearby shop.
How do you know?
Saturday is payday. That is when she comes. On other days, she may not be able to afford lunch. Perhaps she does not earn very much.
He was moved by what the waitress said. He was so curious about that girl. So many questions raised in his head. Who was the child? Why had she inquired about him? Was some mystery the cause of her interest?
Who was the child? Why had she inquired about me? Was some mystery the cause of her interest? Why? What was the matter? Her interest in me aroused my interest in her.
On Sunday, all the shops are closed. So, he went to look for her, but he found no trace of her. He saw her sitting at the same table. He went towards her.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. They slowly started to talk. Are you Indian?
Yes.
Excuse me. Are you vegetarian?
Why do you ask?
I have heard that most Indians are vegetarians.
How is it that you know anything about India?
My elder brother is in India. He is a soldier.
I am not much of a vegetarian, but I enjoy a vegetarian meal.
Seems like her only guardian was this elder brother. She lived with her widowed mother.
Do you hear from your brother?
We had not had a letter from him long time. My mother is very worried. People tell her that India is full of tigers and snakes and fevers. She is afraid something had happened to him. Is it true, sir? That India is full of tigers and snakes and fevers?
No. How could people live there if it were?
Mother says she would like to ask an Indian about this. So, her mother wanted him to see her, but she did not have the courage to ask him.
Will you introduce me to your mother sometime? Would you like me to accompany you to home?
Thank you ever so much. It is so kind of you. Can you come now?
With pleasure.
If it will not interfere with anything else.
No. Not at all. This afternoon is my own. May I know your name?
My name is Alice Margaret Clifford.
Do you come this way often?
Yes. I work as a typist in the civil service stores. I come home this way. Today is Saturday. So, I am off early.
Should I call you Miss Clifford or Alice?
I am not grown up yet. I am usually called Maggie.
Are you anxious to grow up?
Yes.
Tell me why?
When I grow up, I shall be paid more for my work. My mother is old.
Is the work you do to your liking?
No. The work is very mechanical. I want work that will make me use my head. Brain work. Like the work of a secretary. They crossed the bridge and arrived in Lambeth. It is a poor neighborhood. If I ever become a secretary, I shall take mother away from here.
Did your father call you Maggie or Magsy?
When he was very affectionate, he called me Magsy. How did you know?
Yes, yes. We are Indians. You know. We know about future and all kinds of magic.
That is what I have heard.
Indeed? What have you heard?
I have heard that there are many people in India who have occult powers. They are called yogis. But you are not a yogi.
How do you know that I am not a yogi? Maggie?
Yogis do not eat meat.
Is that why you asked me in the beginning whether I am vegetarian or not?
They had reached a narrow doorway. Maggie took a thin latchkey out of her pocket and opened the door. And entered and said, "Please come in." Maggie closed the door. She went to the foot of the stairs and raising her voice a little, called, "Maggie, mother, where are you?"
I am in the kitchen, child.
Do you mind?
Not in the least. Come on.
Mother. An Indian gentleman has come to see you.
Where is he?
This is Mr. Gupta. Mother. And Mr. Gupta, this is my mother.
How do you do?
Excuse me. My hands are covered with flour. Today is Saturday. I am making cake. People will come to buy them this evening. They'll be sold on the streets tonight. This is the way we make our living.
Saturday night is a time of festivity in poor neighborhoods. The streets are more crowded. Saturday is the day the poor are able to spend a little, for they receive their weekly wages. Ingredients for making cake: flour, sugar, fat, raisins, eggs.
Sitting in such a poor kitchen will not be very pleasant for you, will it? I have almost finished the work. Maggie, take him into the sitting room. I will come in a minute.
No. No. I can sit here well enough. The cakes you make are nice one, I must say.
What kind of a country is India, sir?
A beautiful country.
Safe to live in?
Certainly. But not cold like this country. It is somewhat hot.
Aren't there too many snakes and tigers? Don't they kill people?
Don't believe that. Snakes and tigers keeps to the jungles. They get killed themselves if they come close to places where people live.
And fevers?
In some places in India, there is more fever than in other. It is neither the same everywhere nor the same all the year around.
My son is in the Punjab. He is a soldier. What kind of place is the Punjab?
Punjab is a fine place. There's little fever there. It are very healthy.
I am glad to hear it.
He talked about India. Mrs. Clifford showed him a photograph of her son.
He is my son. His name is Francis. We call him as Frank.
Maggie brought out a book of pictures he had sent her to her birthday. There were so many pictures of Simla and the surrounding mountain country. It was written as, "To Maggie, on her birthday, from her loving brother Frank."
Maggie, show Mr. Gupta the ring.
Has your brother sent you a ring? Let me see, what kind of ring is it?
It is a magic ring. A yogi gave it to Frank. Can you see the past and the future in it? He had heard a lot about crystal gazing. A crystal was set in the ring. He took it up and examined.
When Frank sent the ring, he wrote that if you concentrate on a distant person as you gaze into it, you will be able to see him and what he is doing. This what the yogi told Frank. Maggie and I have concentrated upon it, again and again. Because we have not had any news of Frank for a long time. But we have not been able to see anything. Why don't you try? You are a Hindu. You may be able to do it.
He realized that superstition was not confined India. He did not have the heart to tell the mother and daughter that the ring was nothing much, brass with a piece of ordinary glass stuck into it.
I cannot see anything.
He tried to change the subject.
Here is a violin. It is yours. Isn't it, Maggie?
Yes. Maggie plays quite well. Maggie, please play something for us.
Oh, mother.
Please play something. I am very fond of the violin. I have a sister at home about your age. She used to play for me.
The way I played is not at all worth listening to. I do not know many pieces. What would you like to hear?
Shall I choose something? All right, then, give me your music. Let me see what you have.
Most of the pieces were light airs like Goodbye Dolly Gray, Honeysuckle and Maybe, etc. There were so many. But he selected the Bluebells of Scotland and handed Maggie the music. Maggie played and hummed the tune himself. When the song was over, he praised her playing lavishly as he thanked her.
Maggie has never had the opportunity to study. She has learned what she knows by herself. If our circumstances ever improve, I shall arrange for her to have lessons.
On his way back, he was filled with astonishment. The incident touched him very deeply. He visited Maggie and her mother several times, and took Maggie to see zoo once. And she rode the elephant in the Ridgey like all other kids. No news had come from her brother. He went to India House one day. The regiment which the Frank belonged was fighting on the northwest frontier. Mrs. Clifford was worried when she heard this. One day he received a postcard from Maggie. Dear Mr. Gupta, my mother is very ill and I have not been able to go to work for a week. We shall be extremely grateful if you take the trouble to come to see us. Maggie.
When you go, take some money with you. The girl has not been able to go to work for a week. She had not received any pay. It is probable that they are hard up.
Okay.
After breakfast, he took some money and set out for Lambeth. He knocked at the door. Maggie opened it. Oh. Thank you, Mr. Gupta. It is so kind of you.
How is your mother, Maggie?
She is sleeping now. Her condition is very serious. The doctor says it is aggravated by her anxiety over Frank. There is no news from him yet. She may not live. He tried to console Maggie. Maggie controlled herself with effort and said, I have a request to make of you, Mr. Gupta.
What is it, Maggie?
Come into sitting room and I will tell you. They went sitting room without disturbing the sick women.
What is it, Maggie?
She covered her face and wept silently. How can he console this child? Her brother is fighting. God knows whether he is alive or not. Her mother is only person she had on earth. Is she lost her? What will happen? He pulled her hand from her face.
Maggie, tell me what you wish me to do. If there is anything I can do to help you, I shall not hesitate.
Mr. Gupta, I do not know what you will think of the request I am going to make. Please forgive me if it is very, very wrong.
What is it? What do you wish to ask?
All day yesterday, Mother kept saying that if Gupta would come and gaze into the crystal, he might learn something about Franks. Mr. Gupta is a Hindu, she said. If only he would come, she said. That is why I wrote to you.
If you want me to try once more, go and bring me the ring, Maggie. Of course I'll do it.
But if you don't see anything this time? Mr. Gupta, I have read in books that Hindus are extremely truth-loving. If you could bring yourself to tell Mother only once, after looking into the crystal, that Frank is all right, that he is alive, will it be too much of a lie? Will it be very, very wrong? He thought it over. He had done his sinful things. So, he decided to do this.
Please, Maggie, don't cry. Where is the ring? Let me take a good look at it this time. If I do not see anything, I shall do as you suggest. God will forgive me if it is wrong. See if your mother awake.
Mother is awake. I have told her you are here.
May I see her now?
Please come. He approached the mother's bedside, wishing her a good morning.
Good morning. Your son is alive. He is well.
Did you see that in the crystal?
Yes, Mrs. Clifford. I have seen it.
Her head dropped back. Tears of happiness welled from her eyes. She whispered faintly, God bless you. God bless you. Mrs. Clifford recovered.
It's almost time for me to return to my country. I wished to go to Lambeth to say goodbye to Maggie and her mother, but the family was on mourning. Frank had been killed in the fighting on the frontier a month ago. Maggie had sent me a card with black border. I calculated from the date and found that Frank had been dead some days when I told his mother he was alive and well. I felt ashamed to face Mrs. Clifford. So I wrote a letter to them, announcing my departure and bidding them goodbye.
When he was breakfasting with the family, there was a knock at the door.
Mr. Gupta. Miss Clifford has come to see you.
I will come now. If I don't come, lest she be late for office because of me.
His breakfast was unfinished. Maggie was standing there. She was wearing black. Are you leaving today?
Yes, Maggie, today is the day of my departure.
How long will it take you to reach your country?
A little more than 2 weeks.
In what part of the country do you live?
I have entered the Punjab Civil Service. I shall not know exactly where I am posted until I arrive there.
Is the frontier very far from there?
No, not very.
Frank is buried at Fort Monroe, near Dera Ghazi Khan.
When I go to that part of the country, I shall visit your brother's grave and write to you.
It won't be troublesome or inconvenient for you?
Why should it be? That place is not very far where I shall be. It is possible for me to go there someday. I will write and tell you about it.
She was happy. She took a shilling out of her pocket. Please buy flowers with this shilling when you go there, and lay them on my brother's grave for me.
Maggie, I shall use this shilling to buy flowers and put them on your brother's grave.
How can thank you? Now it's time for me to go to work. Goodbye. Remember to write.
Goodbye, Maggie. God bless you.